right, welcome everyone to Black Man Speak. I'm your co-host, VJR Stewart.
And I'm your co-host, Tommy D. Duncan III. It is Wednesday, October the 29th, 2025, the last Wednesday of October. And
Yes,
if it is Wednesday night,
it's Black Man Speak. So we're going to give a shout out to Count Basie for providing our theme music, to Forest Films and our own studio for providing our virtual studio. And we're going to give a shout out to Tommy D. Duncan, our news director, for getting these amazing stories for us to talk about on the show tonight. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Help us with the YouTube algorithm. Hit the notification button so you'll be notified when new shows are uploaded, which is at 9 p.m. Central Time after the regular show concludes. And also, if you're here watching the show live, invite a friend, family member, a neighbor, co-worker, a friend, frenemy, just so you have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. Because today is hump day, I'm sorry. So with that being said, Tom, let's do what we do best, which is bring information to social media about what's going on in the country and in the world. What say
all
you?
right, all right, folks, we are now going to make you the smartest person in your household, at work, and
Yes.
you're going to be hanging out this week. And even though I am not a holiday person this time of the year, but for those who do celebrate it, happy Halloween, and be very careful if you're going to be going out with the kids or just by yourself doing trick or treating or doing whatever, folks. I haven't done any Halloween stuff in quite enough. Don't take it the wrong way. I
We
usually.
do it every year, Tom. In fact, if you look behind me, you see that big bowl. Each
Mhm.
one of those bags has a candy in them, and in fact, the tie sack next to it is what couldn't fit into the big bowl. So we are preparing ourselves for the Stewart household. Yeah, we enjoy Halloween.
Well, folks, I guess go get your candy or maybe something healthier, maybe a healthier treat so you're not promoting tooth decay and having the kids go to the dentist unnecessarily this year. Maybe try some healthy snacks. Jimmy, I don't know if you have any recommendations for healthy snacks outside of stuff that's going to be promoting tooth decay.
Yeah. Well, we're promoting tooth decay here, so we have the good stuff. My wife and I bought a ton of chocolate, man. So yeah, we have the good stuff here at the Stewart household. Come
All
on
right.
by.
Well, we'll get on by the Stewart House. I'm going to see if I can find something healthy. When I've forgotten the last couple of years, and I keep the lights off so the kids won't be coming by here accidentally, and I forgot the candy.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right, T. What was our first story tonight?
all right. We have got a couple of memorials, Jimmy, that we're going to share with everybody, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with our shows for tonight. Those who are in the music industry or those who are jazz aficionados may know this face, but the legendary jazz drummer Jack DeJohnette became an ancestor this past Sunday on October the 26th at the age of 83 from congestive heart failure. Known for his influential work with the likes of Miles Davis and John Coltrane, he was a renowned innovator in jazz drumming with a career spanning decades and many influential recordings. He passed away peacefully, surrounded by his family and friends. We want to give him, of course, and his family our condolences.
Yes.
Another great legend, Jimmy. The drummer man and the guitar guys, they're the real quiet ones in the back, making everything happen for the
Oh yeah,
folks.
they make it happen, man. Giving that
Exactly.
bass guitar.
Exactly, man. So these are the quiet giants and legends who don't get the voice and the face out there, man, but who makes everything work for everybody else. So again, our condolences to the DeJohnette family. And they say, Jimmy, with every elder who passes, a library goes with them. So,
Yes.
all right, our next memorial goes to those who are probably in the sports and in particular the football glory days of the 1970s. Jimmy, you may know this face if you watched football back in the day, but former Oakland Raider and safety Super Bowl 11 champion George Atkinson became an ancestor
Hmm.
a couple of days ago on October 27th at the age of 78. Known for his physical, hard-hitting style. He was a member of the Soul Patrol. Jimmy, I don't know if you remember the Soul
I
Patrol back
do.
in
I do
1970.
remember.
He played 10 seasons with the Oakland Raiders from 1968 to 1977. He was drafted out of Mo Brown College. Played his final season with the Denver Broncos. Following his playing career, he worked as a broadcaster for the Oakland Raiders. So for the Raiders Nation of football, our condolences go out to his family and those who knew and that he
Boy, you know,
brought.
if he was still around these younger days, when the Cowboys could definitely use him in that secondary.
Boy, all right, a couple of notes. We had skipped over business news. We'll give you a couple of briefs on what's going on in business. It's been checking out the news that the Fed did actually make another interest basis points for the second meeting, and the government is still.
Well, Tommy knew that was going to happen. You know, Powell's trying to keep his job.
He's not going to keep his job, but he's not going to keep his job, but he is doing his job, which is trying. So
if he cuts interest rates enough to keep his boss happy, he may get recommended for another term. So we'll see.
Be surprised. I think White House has about 4 or 5 different people lined up to take his place. Is it in May?
Yeah, they do, Tom. They actually want to replace the entire board. So
yeah, they've already replaced one or a couple of different board governors. But Jerome Powell, and they're cutting interest rates by 250, even though because of the government shutdown, a lot of reports on unemployment, etc., are the bank voted in a split decision against interest rate to a range of 4% in a press conference following the meeting. Powell did emphasize, but not a foregone, that rates could be cut again before the end of the year. So we will see what happens this year with that. But I know that will definitely make some folks, especially those who are in the lending business, or at least those who are needing money, a little bit happier so they can get that money a little bit cheaper. And a company, Jimmy, that we have not talked about in a few months, but has hit another milestone. NVIDIA again has done it. We talked about them hitting the $4 trillion mark just a few months ago, but they have already hit the $5 trillion mark. NVIDIA became the first company in history to top the $5 trillion market valuation at the start of the day and held on to it until the close. NVIDIA revealed yesterday it's working with the U.S. Department of Energy to build 7 new supercomputers, in addition to having several deals with other companies, including Uber.
Well, it's not just that. It's also the Trump administration Asian trip. They've cut a lot of trade deals. But the biggest one is that they're going to open the door to China to sell their technology there. So, which is huge. China.
But
China is a technological country, but they do lag behind on some of the more advanced chips because we just don't export that type of technology to them, or the fabric machine to help them make it themselves. So opening China up as a market to be able to sell their technology is huge, because the Chinese will certainly buy quite a bit of their technology to help keep pace with their AI technology. So, so the speculation is that's just going to drive revenue for the company. So that's pretty much why plus some other deals that they announced also.
Oh, they've got a ton of deals, Jimmy. I mean, you got Uber, you got Eli Lilly, Nokia, Palantir, Oracle, Cisco, a ton of different pretty significant deals that are out there, Jimmy. So this company is going to be growing.
And Tom, you notice this comes now, and you feed one hand, you take away with the other, because take a company like Salesforce. Their CEO announced that they will never hire another programmer for their company again, because of AI and the fact that AI could develop all of the software they need. So as companies embrace AI, I mean, when I was in high school, Julie wanted to be a physicist, but the career counselor showed me the chart where physicists were at the bottom and doctors, lawyers, and engineers were at the top. So, I sold my soul to the devil to become an electrical engineer. Now I look back on it, I probably would have been happier in life, even if I made less money as a physicist. But hey, life goes on.
What young person is going to say, I'm going to take less money?
Yeah, that's true, Tom. That's true. But that software engineering and computer science engineering is not what it used to be. So
Nothing
so
is. I mean,
you-
just like we don't use horses anymore, get around. But and to your point, Jimmy, when you start talking about attorneys and physicians which who are the top of the food chain, even they are being taken over
yes, they are.
AI. So, I mean, we've had these conversations before. You have got to figure out how to leverage the wave of what's coming. And a lot of the so-called white collar jobs that made a lot of money.
Don't be the buggy maker when cars are coming off the road assembly line.
Exactly.
Um, so yeah, a lot of surgeries are being done by robotics now. It's simple stuff like appendixes and simple stuff, but that's only going to grow to more complex surgeries as these robotics and AI become better skilled. So even those at the top of the food chain are going to be threatened and challenged at some point. So
Yeah, it is definitely going to be interesting. So this generation of young people who are coming out of high school, who are coming out of college, you're going to have to reevaluate the things that your parents and or grandparents are telling you, and really kind of do a really high level of research in terms of what's going to take you for the next, we can't say 20 years anymore, 20, 25 years
no,
anymore.
you can't, Tom. It's moving too fast.
10 years if you're lucky.
But we still need plumbers. We
That's
still
true.
need electricians.
We'll
We
never
still need HVAC people. So the service of the air conditioning heating units. I know it's manual work and it's tiresome, but some of those folks make really good money, Tom.
very
They do.
strong six-figure money.
Yes, they do.
Now,
Yes, they
some of
do.
the technology is getting more technologically advanced, but it's just like certifying up, just like anybody else. Learn to build, how to fix more sophisticated cars. You learn how to fix more sophisticated appliances. But at the end of the day, the trades are definitely back in because you have an entire generations of boomers, silents, and even now Gen X's who are retiring. Somebody's got to replace
Right. And one last thing, Tom. We're going to move on to the next story. I promise. Um, So it was reported today, I think by U.S. News and World Report, that the unemployment rate for college graduates is now higher than high school graduates for the first time in American history. So that should kind of let you know about the shift.
And if you look at all of these major companies who are laying off hand over fist, and we're talking about tech companies, we're not talking about industrial companies.
Yes.
It's a conversation that has to be had. All right, Jimmy, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. It is something that we have to cover, not a political story, but definitely a story that is in the news, maybe affecting somebody that you know, especially if you are in the Caribbean. Folks, I know that you've
The hurricane.
seen this, but four people taken, while at least 20 others have died in Haiti, Hurricane Melissa. It made landfall in Jamaica just yesterday at a Cat 5 with gusts up to 185 miles per hour. Yes, 185 miles per hour, among the strongest winds recorded in history. The U.S. is sending disaster response teams to Jamaica to assess the scale of the damage. Officials say that a team of U.S. experts in water sanitation, food assistance, and shelter is on its way to Jamaica and would be on the ground within the next 24 hours if they are not already there. Now, the deployment comes in the wake of the current administration's closure of several U.S. agencies in international development aid, which was the world's biggest aid agency amid cuts to foreign assistance by billions of dollars. From Jamaica, the storm has traveled north to Cuba, bringing it up to 115 mile per hour winds and heavy rain. And then after that, also headed towards Bahamas as well. So we are not out of harm's way yet, Jimmy, and our condolences to those who have lost loved ones. And please make sure that you check on your friends and family who may have folks who may be in that storm. But this is a bad one and one for the ages.
Yeah, Tommy, once it gets back into the water, it's going to pick up steam again and get even stronger. So right now, some of the 115 mile per hour wind versus 180 is because it hit land. But even 115, Tom, that's just some strong wind.
Catastrophic.
So let's hope it goes out, takes a more of a easterly turn, go out into the ocean and dissipate. So because yeah,
Yeah.
that's a bad storm.
is, of course, with winds, this is affecting infrastructure.
Yes.
And so you're talking about billions that's going to take a very long time in order
And
to.
Tom, you're talking a country that can't afford billions of dollars in damage.
Right.
It's not like AIG that are coming there on insurance policy to pay everybody off. Um, so for them to rebuild from this is going to take years, maybe a decade or so.
And
If that,
the sad thing about it, Jimmy, and we saw this with Puerto Rico. A lot of these folks, to your point, are poor. They don't have a lot of money. They're not going to be getting big insurance settlements. And so, what we saw in Puerto Rico, and as what we've seen in other areas, when you have a lot of folks who are, just living off of the land and things of that nature, a lot of them get run out of off of their land, and then you have folks who come in with the money, get a lot of the land, rebuild, and a lot of these folks have lost their homes and their livelihoods. And so it is a very, very tough proposition in terms of what we're seeing, because we have folks who are struggling and who are barely making ends meet. And unfortunately, some of them are run off of their land, and then you have folks who are making beachfront property on their land.
all right. Well, Tommy, I remember our trip to the Caribbean, man. When you go to the countryside, you see people in these little shack houses, any little thing scraps they can put together to build them a little home. Um, Extension cords running up to the electric pole, people splicing into to the grid because they can't afford electricity. They just steal it. Or people with pools in their backyard to collect water. That's how they get water into the house. So yeah, the infrastructure is already terrible.
Yes,
My point. It's not like our infrastructure that we can rebuild it. They didn't have the infrastructure to start with in some of these places,
correct.
and then a hurricane comes through there, blow the little bit they have away. So yeah, it's a bad situation for poor people up and down the Caribbean.
Absolutely. But getting to a little bit more of a positive note, again, according to NBC News, a monument for civil rights legend and icon Rosa Parks will be the first statue of a woman on erected on the Alabama State Capitol lawn. Alabama Representative Laura Hill sponsored a bill in 2019 that authorized the monument, known around the world as the mother of the civil rights movement. Rosa Parks helped transform history on December the 1st, 1955, when she refused to give up her bus seat to a white passenger in Montgomery, Alabama. She was not, however, the first to resist busing
Yes,
segregation.
we know she wasn't the first because we covered that here. Well,
Exactly.
you know it too if you watch this show. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Tom.
But it was 9 months earlier by the name of one Claudette Colvin, who
Yeah.
actually stood up, not in any plan, but someone who just wasn't going to take it anymore, and ended up leading to the lawsuit that ended busing segregation. Some people are under the misnomer that it was actually Rosa Parks and some
No, she
legislators.
became the face of it, Tom, because she was better looking.
Well, it was not just that, but there were some other circumstances as well. Of course, Claudette Colvin was only 16 years old. Rosa Parks, was a mature professional woman who was married. Claudette Colvin, was still 16, so on and so forth. But all that being said, Rosa Parks, however, what officially ignited what we would call the year-long Montgomery bus boycott, which was a real thing, led by, of course, the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Parks moved to Detroit in 1957, of course, after the Great Desegregation case, where she worked for Congressman John Conyers and advocated for affordable housing and black accountability. Whoever would have thought, Jimmy, especially folks back then, that a young woman who was just tired of work of her seat would have been the spark of desegregating buses and transportation across the country. And so
Yeah,
we would like to,
congratulations to her and the whole family.
as,
Yes.
as we would say, hey, go get it and strong J.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, why don't we do this real quick?
Yes.
Let's acknowledge those on the chat line. We have a lot of activity very quick early on, which is not unusual for us. So
Okay.
let's give a
Okay.
quick shout out and then let's move on to the next story.
All right. So let's see what's going on in the chat line. We've got cousin Audrey K on the line. Good evening.
Yay, cousin Audrey K. Booker.
Miss Counselor Lisa. Everyone is using AI in law, and she's an attorney, so she would definitely know. We've got Brother Frederick V. Roberts, Esquire, out of Prairie View, Texas. He said he took less money in his first professional job. He's from the Bahamas, by the way, because the benefits were better with the quasi-government position. So good to have you, Brother Roberts. And let me see here. Lisa, yep, took a job in government, better benefits. And glad I got to see Jamaica this summer. That's right. She just took a trip to Jamaica.
Wow,
This
perfect timing. It
It's
is hurricane season, start of it.
it's not going to be the same anytime soon, unfortunately. But we will definitely have to, make sure that we can keep our eyes on that story. So let's
Now,
go
you
ahead.
may notice that starting around August, September, trips to the Caribbean get a lot cheaper because that's start of hurricane season, end of August. So you can find some good deals, but we get down there and get back before for any hurricane heads its way. So
Very true. All right, Jimmy, let's go ahead and go to some other national headline stories, which is
okay, what do we have?
a local story that has actually gone national, I believe. Our own local, Woodrow Wilson High School, has hit the national news because the Dallas High School principal has been ousted after reportedly singling out a group of black students, blaming them for the school's academic rating. According to the Dallas Morning News, Principal Chandra Hooper Barnett called the group of black students into a meeting during which she allegedly said they were the reason that Woodrow Wilson High School received a B rating from the Texas Education Agency. One parent said Barnett stated the students, all black, were the reason. Her son, by the way, who happens to be African American, had a 3.5 GPA. In a letter, though, to parents on Sunday, the 26th, this past weekend, she apologized and said that the meeting was inappropriate, saying that she took full accountability and responsibility for what did occur at the time, and that she didn't mean to harm any single group of students. And basically kind of falling on the sword. DISD confirmed that Hooper Barnett will not return to Woodrow Wilson, and Danielle Peters was appointed as the interim principal. Hooper Barnett has been a principal for 3 years and worked in the district for 22 years, earning several Teacher of the Year awards. Interestingly enough, at Woodrow Wilson, black students only make up 7.3% of the school's population, while Hispanic students are 2% and white students are 27%. The school consistently earning a B, 83 out of 100 this year, down from 87 last year. So it kind of an Jimmy, and she had to, I guess, she got some backlash.
But first of all, let me start. Let me go back a little bit. One, no high school, no elementary school, no public school, period, should be named after Woodrow Wilson. He was such a horrible president
I would
for
agree
black people.
with that.
Set race relations back at least a generation easily with his policies. I mean, this is a despicable man as far as I'm concerned, especially as president. Um, Next thing, the black people do not send your kids to any school named Woodrow Wilson. And if you're a teacher, an educator, a counselor, don't go work at schools named Woodrow Wilson. Let's force the system to shut these schools down or rename them to something else. Uh, Hell,
What does
name
that
the
look
school
like?
Rosa
Because
Parks, huh?
of course, that's going to be their home school. And I mean, how long does it take to read?
It shouldn't take a very long time. I don't know, you add a rider in a bill in Congress, or maybe do it at the state level. But yeah, no public schools, period, should be named after Woodrow Wilson. And even Princeton, which is sort of the home of Woodrow Wilson, the black students there have been protesting for years, trying to get his name off buildings and dormitories and libraries there. Because once you read and study and understand how horrible a man he was as president, after getting a large number of black people to vote for him when he ran, and then to turn his back on him and stab him in the back once he became president, him and his brother. Yeah, this is a horrible person, Tom. No school. I'm not very adamant about this. I mean, I don't dislike anyone, but I dislike this man. I don't even know him. But his policy was so horrible for the country and race relations that I just can't even conceive anyone in their right mind or left mind naming a school after this man and then put it in the black area for black kids after attending school. You may as well send them to the KKK high school.
Well, Jimmy, I mean, as quiet as it's kept, for those who don't know the history of Woodrow Wilson, in essence, that's what it did. But as opposed to him being named Mr. President KKK, when you consider his policies, you might as well say the same thing, unfortunately.
Yes.
And a
I
lot
mean,
of
he was friends with the KKK, brought him into the White House. The Birth of a Nation was screened there, legitimized just when the KKK had almost been eradicated in the country. He brought him back to popularity. He made it mainstream to be okay to be a KKK, in addition to his other policies. So, yeah, Tom, we shouldn't have, she may be lucky getting booted out of Woodrow Wilson High School. Sister, go somewhere else and where your talents are appreciated. Obviously, you know something about educating kids. If your son or your children are maintaining a 3.5 average, so not like you're totally ignorant to how to educate kids, but that's just not a good situation for us. I'm concerned to be teaching and working at school and trying to educate kids at school named after Woodrow Wilson.
Well, besides the point of this story, I think it was a very unfortunate incident, but was single out any group of students for, the reality of the school going from a B rating to 83. I mean, I'm pretty sure there'll be information. Obviously, she has been removed from being, I think it's very unfortunate and very traumatic
But Tom, it's
because
only
where
going
this
to
may
get
be one.
worse as these kids spend more time on their video games, more time on their little handheld phones, texting, doing whatever, DMing. The problem is only going to get worse that you have distractions that keep kids from learning, which is why I keep saying we need to go back to the great motivator, that leather belt, doing homework, turning the TV off, tossing out the PlayStations and the Nintendo games. If you can't maintain a B average plus in school, then you don't have the right. You shouldn't have the right to play video games. This should be the rule in every household. You have to earn these extra luxuries in your life. And when kids are making horrible grades, getting pushed through the system, not being educated, can't do basic math, can't read, and coming out of high school just as dumb and ignorant as they were when they came into it 4 years ago, yeah, Tom, we have a problem.
Well, I would say this: when it comes to the education of our children, it is at least a three-legged stool. One being the parent, because your education starts at home. Obviously, the educator that is responsible for basically elevating what they get at home, and obviously the effort of the student in order to ensure that they're getting the type of education that they need to prepare them to be productive students and citizens in the society. And when there is a breakdown in any of those areas, there's going to be a problem. But it is a big problem for someone who is responsible for all the students and staff at a university to be addressed this way, because they are the ones that set the tone, create the culture and the climate for the students to be educated in the first place. And because we see a lot of situations where just, in one classroom with one kid can traumatize
Oh
that
yeah,
kid.
that is true.
And for someone to an entire group of kids, it takes some time in order to restore this. But, I'm glad that someone took action. I'm glad the parents fought back on this and made sure they pushed back on this incident, regardless of what the students were doing there. For 7% of the students, for a principal to suspect that 7% of the students are going to have that much of an impact on an entire school is unimaginable. And the reality of it is she needed to be gone. So with that being said, we'll
Next story.
All right, next story. One of the biggest stories that we have, of course, coming up with the politics of what's going on with the government stuff down, is that SNAP, of course, which is what we used to call food stamps, is being cut potentially by November the 1st of this year.
Oh, not cut, Tom, and not funded.
Well, unfunded.
Cut means that you're taking some of the money away.
Unfunded.
Unfunded means there's no dollars.
Gotcha.
So more than 2 dozen mislead people.
2 dozen states, by the Trump administration seeking to maintain funding benefits, because as of November the 1st of this year, they're saying the well is running dry and there's going to be no money, which is going to affect 40 million plus citizens who are, in high need areas in terms of food. The suit was fired 4 days after the Trump administration said it would not use the $6 billion in congressionally appropriated emergency funds to maintain benefits during the shutdown if it continues at that point in time. SNAP benefits will be delayed for the first time in almost 60 years if this were to happen.
So, Tom, let me say this. The 40 million on the SNAP program, that's adults. A lot of those adults have children. And it is unbelievable to me that a political party, Democrats Party, could hold up funding for this long and jeopardize families and kids in this way. Now, I understand that they want to restore medical benefits to illegals. I mean, they're a crazy group of people now. That party has
No,
just gone
it's
off the
not
rails.
for illegal.
And I understand that they want to restore subsidies to Obamacare, which they love, which the country can't afford anymore. Okay, so you're fighting for these things, fine. But you know what, Tom? I've gone years without insurance at times in my life where I just had to pay my way when I went to the doctor, pay for my own medication. And you know what? I mean, I survived. If I had to make a choice between buying food for myself and my family and paying an insurance premium, I'd go with the food because I can't go years without eating food, and no family can. So, as far as I'm concerned, putting food in the homes of families, especially with kids, is more important than fighting for medical benefits for illegals who are not even citizens. As far as I'm concerned, the things they're holding up this budget over don't make any sense to me other than it's not worth what they're putting the country through to fight for it. Now, um, Speaker Johnson has put two measures on the floor for a vote, which passed, um, basically stating that they'll fund the government at the current levels for the rest of the year. That's what they call a clean CR. They put several of those up, but the latest one extended it to the end of the year. And so basically, go ahead. And he also promised that if you want to vote up or down vote on these subsidies for illegals and Obamacare, he'll promise to bring that to a vote, even though if it was Nancy Pelosi, she would not put anything on the floor that did not get the majority of her party to stand behind. The majority of Republicans do not like Obamacare and wouldn't go for this, but he will go against a president and let it go to a House vote anyway, as long as they pass the continues the CR in the Senate and just refund the government. So, Tom, I think this is a reasonable offer, and this is a shame that Democrats, anybody who's a Democrat, who's not pressuring their representatives to vote and turn this around, should be ashamed of themselves. The issues you're fighting for, trans rights, the alphabet community, medical rights for illegals, is not worth starving people over. Not worth starving adults over, not worth starving children over. The issue is not that important. It's not that crucial. Because last time I checked, it's still American law that's codified that if you have a problem, medical issue, you go into any hospital, public or private, and they have to treat you by law. So nobody's going to lose medical benefits if Obamacare goes away. You may not be able to get government subsidized insurance like you want, paying $100 a month for something that's worth $1,300 a month. Okay, but so what? You still live and you got food to eat. But when you can't put food in the refrigerator to feed kids, that's a serious issue, Tom. That's more serious than the healthcare crisis, which is bloated and overpriced anyway. Maybe we need a reduction, some kind of realignment on the whole healthcare industry by defunding some of it. And that's the problem with too much government money. Anytime government money flows into something, the price of it goes up because people who want to make the money know they can get it from the government. So that's my 2 cents. I'm sorry to just rant like that, but it just irritates me that our leaders can be this irresponsible, especially the Democrat leadership, not the rank and file members. But the rank and file members are getting ready to get on my last nerve. If y'all don't pressure the Democrat leadership to just go ahead and pass a continuous resolution, let's get through the end of the year, and then let's continue to work this out and negotiate your differences while refunding and restarting government. Because too many people, and it's not just SNAP, Tom, it's WIC, it's all these other programs, it's veteran program, which I'm a veteran, a disabled veteran. Some of these services that I take advantage of as being a veteran are going to be defunded. I've already been defunded. They had enough money to get through October, but as of November 1st, the money stops. Everything stops. Air traffic controllers who are now using their sick days and vacation to take off from work. Our military is not being paid. Our law enforcement is not being paid. Nobody's being paid but Congress.
And that's in and of itself the problem. Regardless of what side are you on this particular subject, whether it's the government or it's extending of the whatever the case is, the reason that we have impasse and the reason that we are extended to probably shut down in history is because it does not affect, and until it affects them, it means for them. But it's very simple: extend the tax credits, and then we move forward and we fund the spending for this country. The reality of it is Republicans want something, Democrats want something. Get to the table.
Well, as long as you want to reopen the country, negotiate. Let me say this. I'll be willing to give Chuck Schumer and Jeffries, Obamacare funding, longest of treatment, the money went for Trump derangement syndrome. Some of these people, Tom, are just opposing the administration simply because it's Trump. No logical reason. Democrats would never do
goes
this in
both
the
ways,
past.
Jimmy. It's not the politics of our nation for the last generation or so.
Tom, the divide, okay, I'd be willing to bet if you sit down, you get 100 Republicans, 100 Democrats at random and pick them and put them in the audience, and you say, put it to the question, who's okay with children going without food? Nobody's gonna raise their hand, Tom.
No, they're not.
Who's going to oppose refunding SNAP programs and WIC programs and other programs that benefit kids and the poor? Nobody's going to be against that, Tom. But if you ask
Jimmy,
people, are you okay with funding medical subsidies for illegal immigrants? Yeah, you may get the majority of the room on both sides saying, okay, I don't see that as important as taking a priority over feeding kids. So I'm saying the important issues, there's not a divide between the average Republicans and Democrats who are reasonable. But the people who are now opposing this, who are fighting and holding out for a government shutdown to get their way, Tom, this is crazy. The only reason they're doing it because the guy in power, they don't like Trump. Period. They can't articulate any other logical reason for doing this. They want to leverage and have the people suffer, hoping that everybody's blaming Republicans for the shutdown like we have in the past. But this time it's not working. Republicans are not budging. And if the Democrats don't want to join board to reopen government, they just stay closed. Now, unfortunately, staying closed means that a lot of people are going to get hurt. But the Republicans are absolutely not going to fund medical care for illegals. Now we're telling people that we're trying to deport you for being in our country illegal. Then we're going to turn around and incentivize you to come here by funding medical care for you and Obamacare. It's not going to happen, Tom. And Trump is adamant, if it did pass, he wouldn't sign it. So it's a lost cause altogether. So just go ahead and vote to reopen government. Continue to negotiate with Trump and Republicans. If you're a Democrat, see if you can find a way to peel off and get a few things that you want. But this fight Trump at all costs, it's hurting too many people, hurting too many kids. It is absolutely crazy and insane what Democrats are doing. So that's my word. And y'all know I'm a partisan Republican, and so I have no qualms about stating my politics, but that's where I am. And I'm calling like I see it, Tom. If Republicans were to blame in any way, I'd be on the phone writing letters myself to reopen government and change the policy. But when every Republican is voting to reopen government and they need 7 Democrats to come join them and only 4 are joining the race, all the other Democrats are voting to keep government shut down. I can't help but blame the party that's where 99% of Democrats are voting to keep government shut down. I don't know how you make this a bipartisan issue, saying both parties are responsible, when one party is voting to reopen government and one party is adamant that they're going to keep it shut down if they don't get their way. And they're not in power. This is how crazy Democrats are when they're not in power. They get really stupid, and they're getting stupid. They're getting more crazy by the day when they're not in power. If they were in power, they would never do this. If Nancy Pelosi was still Speaker of the House, and Chuck Schumer was a leader of the Senate, there's no way they would be in favor of shutting the government down over this issue. They would have reopened government and moved on easily. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You sure?
Yes, go ahead. I'm sure the audience is curious to hear what Tommy D. Duncan III has to say. Go ahead.
Jimmy, this is coming down to the left pointing to the right pointing to the left, number one. Number two, we know what the left wants. We know what the right wants. Sit down, negotiate it. This is not about providing benefits to just illegals. And for those of you who find the evidence that your representative is advocating providing Obamacare tax benefits to illegals, shut it down. But that's not the issue. The issue is the Republicans want to, okay, trust us and we'll do it after we make the votes. And the Democrats like, no, we need to get this done now and then get the vote in.
Yeah, Tommy, because the Democrats are not in power. So they can't dictate what comes to the floor for a vote. So Mike Johnson has promised that he'll bring it to a vote after you reopen government. What's wrong with that? And then the very thing that they're fighting for is benefits for illegals, benefits for Obamacare. Then what are they fighting for then, Tom? What's keeping Democrats from reopen government? Tell me.
tax credits for folks who cannot afford to go into complete disaster financially because they cannot afford. Everybody knows, in essence, that most people are just one healthcare catastrophe away from being in, and you know this personally. Everyone
Tom, I
is just one
mentioned
healthcare
Obamacare. I said the
catastrophe.
Republicans do not want to fund Obamacare. I mentioned that. But
I understand that.
Obamacare is not
So,
worth starving kids for.
so this is very
That's my position. So if Mike Johnson is going to give you, the Speaker of the House has promised you an up and down vote, bring it to the floor for an up and down vote, what more can you ask for? And if it still goes down in flames, which it already has, because if the Republicans want to put funding for Obamacare, they would have put in the big beautiful bill, the funding bill for the government. This has already been decided. Okay, but so he promised you another vote on it. He will bring it to the floor, just reopen government and get the money flowing again. And we'll bring it to a vote. We'll see if the majority of Republicans and Democrats want to fund Obamacare yet again for the next Congress. If the vote is still no, then it's no. But Schumer and Jeffries know that the vote is going to be no. Republicans are absolutely not going to refund Obamacare. It's already a disaster. Obamacare costs, for every
it's a
$100 that a
disaster
person
that
spends on Obamacare,
people in
it
this
costs the
country.
government $1,500 to subsidize that policy. They're getting policies way under market value. We just can't afford to keep doing that. There has to be something has to be cut off at some point. So I'm not saying that we can't find a better solution for people to get health care and insurance. We can. We just have to work together. So you're right about that. Obamacare is not the answer. It's a disaster. Republicans don't want to fund it anymore. So rather than keep fighting for a dead duck that you try to resuscitate, that duck is not going to come back. Period. Jeffries and Schumer knows this. The Democrat leadership knows this. There's no way in the world you're going to get Republicans to do this. You can't get Republicans and Trump to sit down and negotiate a new health care bill. Call it Trump care if you want to, and put in as much junk as you want to that you can negotiate with. You know, I mean, who cares what it's called anymore? But Obamacare, that's gone. That's dead. And Republicans are not budging on it at all. If they were going to budge on it, Tom, they would have caved in 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. As soon as the government shut down, they would have caved, because that's what they've always done in the past when we had these government shutdowns. They are absolutely, and I told y'all this last week.
Yeah, but we've got a couple of more stories before we got to
Republicans are not budging on this, Tom.
Okay.
They finally got the umbrella and the coverage to stand up and stop being jellyfish and banana bats. They are not going to budge on this. So let's leave. All you're going to ask for is an up and down vote, which you've been promised that. And then if you lose that vote, you just move on and negotiate a new health care package for the poor.
All right, let's go.
And the best way to get it passed, I'm going to give this advice to Democratic leadership. Call it Trump care, and you may have a good chance of getting it passed. Anyway, what say you, Tom?
Let's go to our next two stories. All right, Jimmy. Breaking news today. Well, story that we have actually been covering over the last several months, Jimmy. Of course, being the former sheriff's deputy who killed Sonya Massey. Well,
shot in the face,
jury has gotten
exactly. Shot in the face.
A jury found former Sangamon County, Illinois deputy Sean Grayson guilty of second-degree murder for the murder of Sonya Massey. Grayson was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, and the jury was given the option of convicting him on second-degree murder. They found him not guilty on all 3 counts of first-degree. They found him guilty on second-degree murder of Sonya Massey. By finding Grayson guilty of second-degree murder, the jury determined that as a police officer, he had the unreasonable belief that he was acting in self-defense when he opened fire on Massey. Massey, a 36-year-old unarmed woman, called for police help in July of 2024 for a possible prowler outside of her home. In this case, Jimmy, for a second-degree murder case, he'll get somewhere between 4 to 20 years, possibly probation, no time at all on this. But very interesting outcome. I know a lot of people are very disappointed that he did not get first-degree murder in this case.
Here's the thing: is that they are lucky. And I've said this before. This is the issue when you overcharge someone or make the charge too high. You're actually doing them a favor sometimes if you can't prove all the elements of a murder one may not have been there. And by charging him with murder one, you actually would be doing him and his defense a favor. So luckily, the jury was given the option of putting murder two on the table, which is a little easier to prove and meet the elements of. So, because if murder two wasn't an option on the table, he'd be free right now. And that lady will be dead. So we got to be careful, Tom. We get behind these efforts. We have to understand that we want more charges instead of manslaughter. We want murder instead of murder two or three. We want murder one, or death penalty. Yeah, if you overcharge, you can't prove all the elements. Guess what? It only takes you not being able to prove one element of a murder one charge for the person to be found not guilty and walk. So let's be happy that there was some justice served. I don't care if he was convicted of murder one. She's dead, Tom. So there's no retribution. Nothing gonna bring her back. There's nothing gonna make her family whole. They can sue. They can put him in jail. But Massey is still dead. Her life is gone. Her two children will not enjoy the benefits of their mother anymore. Uh, she had a mother, a father. She had friends. She had family members. She's gone. So all we can do is get as much justice and much financial. If they're going to sue for wrongful death, for some compensation for our kids as best as we possible, and then move on. My advice is when you deal with law enforcement, this is why I say just comply. Just follow the rules.
But that was what she
She
did
did,
because the
Tom.
officer
And
the
why he
officer
wasn't.
asked her to turn off the officer asked her to turn off the burner, which is what she did. And then, of course, her calling for help because she thinks there's a problem outside of her home comes to her being murdered.
Well, Tom, it wasn't that. I mean, yes, it was, but it was also the pot of
And
water. I don't know
everybody
why
sees the
she
video that is
tossed it his
viral.
direction,
So
but for water that doesn't hit you or just land on your shoe, I think they wear leather shoes anyway. He was not harmed in any way. But
she
obviously,
wasn't throwing her
she may have
water.
been over medicated. She may it was middle of the night.
She,
She may not have had enough sleep. I don't know. But certainly it wasn't worth shooting the lady after you tell me I'm going to shoot you in the face and then shoot her in the face. Uh, Personally, I wasn't there for the
she
trial.
went to
I
turn
don't know why they couldn't prove
Jimmy,
all the elements of murder one, but certainly have come
because the
out
jury didn't want
that
to
he
see
would have been found not guilty if they didn't have the option of murder two. So I'm glad the option was on the table. It was put on the table at the last minute actually, because he was not initially charged with murder two. So that option was put on there after the fact. But if it hadn't been put there, Tom, he would have walked and she'd still be dead. So
which is a
it
travesty of
is, Tom,
justice,
but
unfortunately.
our justice system is not perfect and always reach a perfect conclusion. So the best we can hope for is some justice sometimes. So it's not a perfect system, but I'd rather have the system we have, an adversarial between prosecutors and defense, to give you at least a fighting chance for your freedom or to prove your innocence or to prove guilt. But it's not perfect. We never said it was perfect, but when you look around the world, it's probably better than most systems around the world.
It's never in certain communities, Jimmy, and the only saving grace that really you even have in this trial is that Grayson's part his camera on, his body camera on, because if it were not for his partner's body camera, that'd be a case there would not be any conviction whatsoever. And that is the sad, shameful, despicable part of what we're seeing is that in the only situation is because the partner had body camera on. So for those, whatever small rural town or large city you're in, does not, or your sheriff's office does not have body cameras, you need to be protesting because unfortunately that the only thing you can count on is not going to be what the officer may say, and most of them are good people doing their jobs every day, putting their lives on the line. But for bad actors and apples like this, where they're not, this is your only saving grace. And this family's not going to get their loved one back.
Every community should require their officers to have body cam, and it is your right to ask them if the body cam is on. And if it's off or malfunctioning, then you need to ask for a supervisor, ask for someone else who's a little higher up in the food chain to come and assess the situation and turn their body cam on so you can capture it. So you're absolutely right. If that body cam video hadn't been there, it's just
we would not
his word against a dead person. So
conversation at all. So our
we feel for the family and the loved ones of this lady. She shouldn't have died this way. I'm not sure. I didn't watch the trial. They didn't put it on TV, so I didn't have a chance to watch it. I don't understand personally why you can't get a murder one conviction when a person says, I'm going to shoot you in the face, and then they proceed to do it. That's the element of premeditation right there, one of the elements for murder one. So I'm not sure why they were not able to get that element or prove all the elements of murder one. But at the very least, at least he got a murder two conviction. He will serve some time, but he will definitely, if he doesn't die in jail, he will definitely get out and resume his life, and that lady will still be dead.
All right, let's go to our next story. The TEA has taken over another school district in the state of Texas, Fort Worth ISD, that is now got will have state appointed board members, effectively placing the district under the state supervision. Fort Worth ISD is the second largest district in the state that has been taken over by the Texas Education Agency after Houston, which was taken over in 2023. The takeover was triggered by years of repeated low student performance at Leadership Academy of Forest Oak, sixth grade, a campus in the district that has since been closed. But the takeover is meant to correct the course of struggling school districts. This happens to be for one particular campus. When it takes over the power of the school board is suspended into a state-appointed board of managers, the current school board members in an advisory capacity, but without any real decision-making power. TA committee to remove the state-appointed board of managers and return the district's control to the felon, the passing grade for 2 consecutive years. Jimmy, so this
And Tom, this is not
is a
necessarily a
little bit
bad
closer to
thing.
home, just right.
So we need people to understand. I have a sister-in-law who's a retired school teacher, but towards the tail end of her career, she became a counselor, and then she specialized in taking schools that were on the failing list and turning them around. And so when I talked to her, she told me about the money that the state will pour in, additional money, funding resources to help that school turn. So this may not be necessarily a bad thing, Tom. If these schools are lacking resources or direction, let the state take it over. Let them bring in the specialists and give them the resources. Because when it comes to them to turn the school district around, there is no budget. The state will pony up the money. If these counselors say they need X number of dollars to this, as long as they can produce the results, they get it. There's no haggling over, well, we'll put in next year's budget and see if we can get it approved. I'm not saying there's unlimited money, but I'm just saying the money flows quite freely when they're trying to turn schools and school districts around. I may see if my sister-in-law want to come on the show and talk about that. Her job as being one of those people who would come in and help turn the school around. So this may not be a bad thing that TA is taking over the school. They may now finally get the direction and resources they need to turn this around.
It'll be interesting to see how this turns out, Jimmy. Obviously Fort Worth is a relatively large-sized district, and to be taken over by the TA is not a small thing. But to some of our prior conversations when it comes to the education of our kids, it is incumbent on the parents and the household to make sure that their kids are getting the best education they possibly can. We understand that everybody does not, have a lot of money where they can afford possibly private schools and things of that nature. But sometimes we've had situations in the past where we see folks have different addresses than where they need to make sure that their kids get the education.
Good school.
I mean, as we saw, of course, during COVID, kids fell behind, a couple of years and have not been able to catch back up.
Those test scores have not recovered from COVID, Tom, from 2 years of being at home, and I guess the cloud teaching and trying to do it, the virtual classroom didn't quite work out. But here's what will work, Tom. Y'all elect me governor, and I invoke the Jimmy Stewart doctrine for education. We'll get this turned around with the paddle real quick. I promise you. But anyway, like I said, this may not be a bad thing for TA to take over the district. They'll bring in the experts. They'll bring in resources. The resources is the biggest thing. They'll bring in lots of money to get this turned around. So, because they want to see the school get back into a passing situation. They don't want to continue to have these kids be under. The education system is already bad. I can only imagine how bad it has to be to fail a failing school system. I mean, this is getting outright. This is critical if you're a failing school and a failing school system. The whole system is bad as far as I'm concerned. These kids are not as educated as we were coming up through the school system. We learned by hand. We learned to read, write. We did math. We did the critical classes like calculus, geometry, and algebra, and trig. These kids do math 1, math 2, business math. Math for Dummies, and you telling me that even with these watered down programs, that these schools are still failing? Yeah, Tom, this is very critical. And we see these kids come out of school and can't do basic math. Go to the cash register and give one of them more than more. Change the amount of money that you give them after they punch it into the cash register because you want to make an even dollar, even change, and see how lost in a deer in the headlights they become. They just don't know what to do. They damn near give you all your money back because because they can't do basic math. A few pennies can throw them off in their head. So this is how critical. I mean, if that, and you think that's bad, and for you to be failing under that system, then it's really bad, Tom.
I would say this for those of you who are parents, very, very, very critical of the education of your children. You need to be involved in the day-to-day operation of the education process. The state of education, especially in public schools, is very dire. You're getting a much lower quality of education than when we were in school, Jimmy, and it's by design, quite frankly, because, unfortunately, with somewhere anomalies, Jimmy, school districts and especially large public schools are not preparing students to be able to compete on the global level.
Be on the global level. You can't even compete on the local level, Tom.
I understand that, Jimmy. Let me finish. But the design is not for our kids to be able to compete on a global level, but really to make of some corporate environment where, in essence, consumers are basically going to drain and bleed them dry when they become adults. So if you want your kids to be competitive, if you want them to be able to care their families, you're going to have to make sure that you are going over and above what you're probably typically seeing in most public schools. Unfortunately, you're going to have to require more from them at home because they're not getting it at school. Unlike when we were in school, Jimmy, they don't get homework like you would do too. We didn't have a lot of independent study. We weren't being challenged to your not competent critical thinking, reading, math, and science. And that is why we have to have these H-1B. Unfortunately, our school districts are not providing our kids the requisite skills to be able to fill the requirements of these jobs that we are spending billions of dollars to go overseas in order to fulfill the requirements of companies in the United States. It is shameful, and that is what needs to be protested in this country.
Now these kids have AI to write their term papers and write their book essays. They're becoming dumber by the day, Tom, and schools are just teaching them to become follow order functionaries.
Exactly.
Don't think or reason for yourself. Just whatever we tell you to do, do it. Whatever the corporation tell you to do, whatever your government tells you to do, whatever the news industry tell you to do, just do it.
Be sheep.
Believe everything we tell you.
They're teaching your children very much.
Yes. What's our next?
All right, Jim, we got a couple of minutes. We got a couple of minutes to go into sports before the top of the hour, which we're pretty much there right now, Jimmy. We are in baseball, Major League Baseball. I believe
nobody cares about baseball, Tom.
There's some baseball fans out there.
This is the lowest rated World Series. I mean, I look at those numbers like, damn, is anybody watching the World Series?
Well, we don't know, but it is now. The Blue Jays are ahead of the Dodgers 3-1 at the end of the
and nobody even cares. Nobody even cares.
Hey, it's 2-2 right now.
Even the baseball lovers don't care. Tom, a Canadian team winning the World Series. What American cares about that?
Okay, it could be the Dodgers too. There is one American team in there. What happened to the Cowboys this past weekend, Jimmy? We thought they were going to come up after beating the Commanders.
No, nobody thought that. Who thought that, Tom?
Oh, okay.
We thought Coach BS, Brian Scheinhammer, was going to have 2 decent games back to back. No, he's going to go back to the running game. He's going to go back to being the least effective offense, put his team in position to lose games. And where I know the defense can't cover anything, they can't stop the run, Tom. The linebackers are always out of position, so you can always run around them on the edge. We don't have anybody to plug up the middle, so you can run up the middle on us. And our secondary can't stop anybody from just running past them and going to the end zone. So how in the world are we supposed to win against a team that's leading the NFL in sacks? They got, 5 or 6 sacks against the Cowboys?
I was trying to give you figure out a way to work it back because I know you had them in the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, and I told them no.
Tom, you know what? This year and last year I did not have them in the Super Bowl, but I even said that I was not going to get optimistic about the Cowboys until they showed me something. So I got a little bit optimistic. I got ahead of myself, but I understand now. As long as we have Coach BS,
Great the
Coach
offense was,
Eberflus, and Jerry Jones and Steven is managing the team, this Cowboy team will never ever get to a Super Bowl again, until they sell the team, we get a new GM and a whole new coaching staff that knows what they're doing. Tom, the long passing game is the most productive part of our offense, and that's the least
agreed.
called play in the playbook. The running game is not our bread and butter, but this stupid coach, Coach BS, continues to try to run the ball, even though he sees the line can't block and that we can't run against his defense. But it doesn't stop him. He'll just continue because we scripted these plays, so we're gonna call them. We scripted these screenplays, even though we have yet to make positive yards on the screenplay after 7 games, but I'm going to still call them. And then, these defensive formations, we do not play a good zone, but the defensive coordinator is still going to, he called man-to-man 47% of the time, and we actually won a game. We were able to stay in there and win a game. Then he went back to 80% zone, and we get toasted yet again. It's like it took you 7 games to figure out that your best defense coverage is man, and then you have a little bit of success, but then you go back and follow up that game going back to a zone defense, as if you have the greatest zone defense ever. They don't. I don't understand the intelligence of this coaching staff, Tom. And then I don't understand the intelligence of Jerry and Steven to keep these coaches around when they're this incompetent at doing what they do. This team is not prepared week after week.
Well, in that case, Jimmy, y'all telling me I'm a Cowboy. It's finally starting to rub off.
Well, when they went 3 years, 12-5, Tom, you were a little bit of a hater now. But we're gonna see if you hated deranged syndrome.
I've been saying for years. I'm not a Cowboys hater. I don't like Jerry Jones. I don't like as an owner, yes, but as a GM.
Okay, so I'm going to see if you've been cured of your hater deranged syndrome. Say something good about those Aggies. Number 3 in the nation.
They are, and they beat a team.
They beat a ranked team. You said they hadn't beat a ranked team.
Yeah, they beat a number 20. I think it was something. LSU.
Okay, Tom, they're still ranked.
So I give them credit. Now I will give you this. I will give you this for my alma mater. For those of you who did not know, I'm critical of them because I went to the school long enough to be very critical of it. They didn't just win the game, but they actually dominated. They dominated in the second half, and they actually did it in Baton Rouge, which is not a very easy place to play. The reality of it is, but they were so dominant. But I mean, you could see more seats than you could people, and folks they had beaten them into submission. They won a game that they should have won, but they actually dominated, which is something that a top 10 team should be dominating, a team that they should be beating that just doesn't have the talent.
But Tom, you play a team at their home stadium, you have to travel to go play that game, and they're a ranked team. It's still a tough game. I can see them winning a close game on the road, but they dominated. They actually spanked LSU, so it wasn't even close.
They did. And as a side note, Chip Kelly got fired. Right? I mean, so
yeah. Now imagine that, Tom, firing a coach who doesn't produce wins. If only Jerry and Steven could figure that out.
Go figure. Go figure.
Go figure.
I gave up on Jerry a long time ago, years ago.
Well, I thought Jerry wanted to get back to the Super Bowl before he died. I guess not.
Jerry's only doing this. Jerry's just concerned about doing this, counting money
and staying relevant in the press. He likes to be in front of that camera.
But that's true. So, folks, with that being said, I think there are a couple of games this weekend, Jimmy, that we should probably have our eyes. Maybe this next weekend we'll talk a little bit more. I don't know what Texas are going to do, but Vanderbilt and Texas are going to be playing a pretty critical game. I mean, Texas is trying to get back in the hunt. Vanderbilt is now number 9. I mean, I'm not a Vanderbilt fan at all. There's been so many years that they've never been in terms of being competitive in the hunt for a top 10 team, much less being in the playoff. So it should be an interesting game against a tough Vanderbilt.
Very interesting game, Tom. But we could both agree that Texas was overranked as number one to start the season.
Absolutely.
And that was really
And the reality of it is, the only reason that they were overranked is because they had an overhyped quarterback that wasn't really ready for prime time.
Oh, very overhyped, Tom. He's still a first-year quarterback.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't, I don't care who his dad is, who his granddad is, who his uncle is.
But that's what matters to me, unfortunately. That is what matters to me.
But still, he's a first-year quarterback. And this is what you get with first-year quarterbacks. You don't go win.
No, that's not true, Jimmy, because Caleb Williams in his first year, he was firing people. He was firing people, Caleb Williams.
Okay, some first-year quarterbacks, most first-year quarterbacks are not that good. They still have to learn the game, learn the knocks. They generally get better if they can come back in their second and third year.
And Caleb Williams, Jimmy, mind you, Caleb Williams was a true freshman, not a redshirt freshman.
And he was a very bad person to be a true person. Bad as in talented as a true freshman and to win at the college rank. I'm going to put my prediction in right now. I'm going to Ohio State to win it all again.
I can't see
I'm a big Alabama fan, but I just have to admit that Ohio State, I wish we could just scoop up the entire Ohio State staff, water boy, towel boy, everybody, the entire staff, and fire our staff and just replace them, and let them coach the Cowboys for the rest of the season. And I guarantee you they would do a much better job than this current group of yahoos that we have coaching the Cowboys.
Well, we shall definitely see, and maybe no, October is over, but as we get into November and December, we'll probably start talking a little bit more about basketball, but nothing a heck of a lot to talk about right now. We'll see what Cooper Flagg does with the Dallas Mavericks.
Well, Tom, Cooper Flagg is playing on a position. I don't know why the coach is trying to make him a point guard. He is not Magic Johnson. I'm sorry. He didn't have that was the knock against him at Duke. I'm a big Duke fan. Definitely watched every game. He's a great small forward, power forward. He can play the wing position. He can shoot the three. But the knock against him is he can't handle the rock. Not like Wembley. Now, Wembley's 7'5".
Now, for those of you,
he handles the ball like a point guard.
Look, for those of you who are not big-time basketball fans, or your fans, but just haven't been watching the Spurs, Wembley is no joke. 7'3", I think, Jimmy. And I'm not going to say that he's Stephon Curry, but this dude can handle the ball. He is a generational talent. That's
he can shoot the mid-range jumper. He can shoot the long ball. He can handle the ball. He can drive. He's strong. He has a complete game. The only knock against him from last year, one, he got hurt, but him and Battle, then somehow they weren't on the same page. And they would be in close games down the stretch, and somehow Battle and the other point guard figured it was their job to win the game rather than going to their best scorer, which is Wembley. I think they've corrected that now. They understand that he is the team, and the offense has to run through him. But when they unleashed that brother, he did a job with the Mavericks, man. He clowned on AD. He clowned on whoever they put on.
Nobody can cover
AD. He was just driving, dunk, reverse dunking. He just it was a highlight reel show, Tom.
It was.
ESPN.
It was. He
handling the ball going between his legs, around the back. Is he playing the point center or what? Cooper Flagg does not handle the ball that well, Tom. If he did, it would be a whole different story. But he has 5 or 6 turnovers every game for people picking his pocket because he's trying to run the point, and he's not a point guard. He's not Magic.
No, not at all. So we'll see what happens. I think Kyrie Irving comes back in the next, couple of months.
Kyrie can't get back fast enough, Tom.
Exactly.
His offense and his production definitely missed. They are just an average team without him. They'll become a decent team with him, and they may be able to contend with the Oklahoma States, with the Golden States when he comes back. But right now, they're just a middle-of-the-pack team. They're just average.
Yeah, and really at the division right now. So with that being said, Jimmy, that is it for now. Folks, we hope you enjoyed the show. Now you are up to speed and the most informed person in your household and at work. We hope you enjoyed this show, and we'll look forward to seeing you in November, because if it's Wednesday night,
It is Black Men Speak.
good night,
Good night.
everyone.